Hi, I'm River Lightbearer from River Evolutions Healing, Channeling, and Coaching, here to help you create and evolve into your best life and your best business. I am an energy healing practitioner. I am a channel. I am non-binary gender, and I am a trauma survivor. And all of those things are components of River Evolutions, which is why I bring them up. Um, I mentioned in my last video that I am making some changes to River Evolutions, in that in addition to the energy healing and channeling services I offer, I will also be offering consultation and resources to business owners, particularly solopreneurs, coaches, healing practitioners, etc., who want to make their businesses more gender inclusive and or more trauma informed. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about what trauma informed means. When somebody experiences trauma, it it doesn't just cause emotional impact. It literally rewires how their brain works. And when that trauma is long-term and ongoing, and especially if it starts in childhood, that rewiring can cause permanent changes to how somebody perceives the world, how somebody navigates the world. And so some strategies that coaches and practitioners use might work great for someone who doesn't have a trauma history, or someone who has progressed further on their trauma recovery journey. Might work great for somebody who experienced traumatic incidents but not long-term trauma. The one important thing when you're looking at being trauma informed is to remember that trauma doesn't affect any two people the same way. Two people can experience almost exactly the same situation, like two kids who grow up in the same abusive household might respond very differently and might have very different effects because of that trauma. So trauma informed means that when you do your work, you are keeping in mind, when you do your work with trauma survivors specifically, you are keeping in mind how trauma might have affected their brains. And excuse me, swallowed wrong with my coffee a couple minutes before I started this video, and it's still after affecting. Um, at any rate, you are keeping in mind how trauma affects the brain, and how you might need to adjust your approaches in order for a trauma survivor to be successful working with you. I used the example in my last video. I worked with an absolutely wonderful coach at one point, knew her stuff, absolutely very beneficial information, but she takes a very tough love approach. And there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people respond really well to tough love. I don't, because I was, in addition to what I experienced at home, I was horrifically bullied in school. And some of her tough love and even some of her exact phrasings were far too close to the bullying I'd experienced. I could not, even though consciously I knew, she's not one of my bullies. She's not bullying me. She's not trying to make me feel like crap. That was the conscious surface level. But reactions to trauma come from a deeper part. They come from a more emotional part. They come from the wounded child part. And so that wounded child part, or those wounded child parts, because I have more than one, to them, it felt like bullying, and it was scary, and I was having panic attacks about not being able to do what she was telling me, even though, again, on the surface level, I knew she's not telling me I have to do these things. These are suggestions, they're not orders. The wounded children parts were afraid that she would get angry and hurt me if I didn't do what she said. So I was having panic attacks. I was unable to do some of the things that she was suggesting because trauma impacts my ability to connect with people. It impacts my ability to know how to talk to people. And it impacts my ability slash willingness to reach out to people, to network, etc. So some of the things that she was suggesting were things that, even though I could see the benefit for the business and I wanted to do them, I couldn't, because those parts of me wouldn't allow it. And so I learned a lot of beneficial things through working with her. I really did. I'm not going to minimize that at all. I learned a lot of really beneficial things that I have implemented in River Evolutions, but I wasn't able to effectively access everything that she was offering, and I wasn't able to effectively use everything that she was offering because the traumatized parts of me were not responding well to it. And I didn't have the language when I was working with her to be able to say, when you speak to me like that, I feel bullied. And I did have the language to say that, but I was afraid to say that. I didn't have the language to explain that it wasn't me. It wasn't, River Lightbearer sitting here in front of you right now. It was the traumatized children parts of me that were feeling bullied. And so after I stopped working with her, I started doing more therapy because I knew that this was something going on with me. This was not her approach. Her approach is great for many people. This was something in me. And so I went to, I started doing more therapy. I started doing more reading and research to find out why is my brain doing this to me? Why am I not able to get that surface thought of she's not bullying me, she's trying to help, and I don't have to do what she says, down into those deeper parts? Excuse me. And so that's a lot of work and studying and therapy that I've been doing for a while now. And yeah, I am never going to tell any coach or practitioner that they have to change how they do things. That's not my choice to make. That's yours. But I want to help people understand what the traumatized brain does. Trauma rewires the brain. Trauma changes how you perceive the world. It changes how you are in the world. I can't go for walks outside sometimes because a walk outside is not relaxing to me. Doesn't matter whether it's on the city street outside my window here or in the middle of the woods where there's nobody around, or even along the ocean, which I love. I can never completely relax when I am outside because some of those parts are sending me danger signals. When you have experienced trauma, especially long-term ongoing trauma, the red alert part of your brain is always active, no matter what you're doing. Sitting here right now, part of my brain is devoted to listening to what's going on around me, and there was just a weird little noise, and it was just the heater, but it took me a minute to realize that. And you know, there's always red alert signals. So going outside, those red alert signals are going off because when I'm outside, I'm not in control of who's around me. And that can be scary sometimes. Um, I'm not telling you all of this to make you think that I'm really screwed up. Because as I said, I've been in therapy for a long time. I'm doing the work. I've progressed a huge amount in my healing journey. And I've been doing the reading and the research to understand why my brain works the way it does. And, it's, in some ways, it's kind of exciting to learn these things because I understand myself better. But I also, you know, I'm not sure whether to say even or especially coaches and practitioners who have also been traumatized tend not to necessarily understand how trauma has affected other people. Some trauma survivors, and I admit I've fallen into this myself until I started doing the reading and research, some trauma survivors assume that everybody is going to respond to trauma the way they did. And so the way that they approach their services might be based on what they need, but it still might not work for other survivors. So, I can't in a relatively short YouTube video where I'm being distracted by my cat, who fortunately just jumped down. I can't go through all of the whys and wherefores and hows of of being trauma informed. I can say that if you are a practitioner in any type of metaphysical business, spiritual business, coaching, healing practitioner, anything like that, you almost definitely are working with people who have survived trauma. Whether they're coming forward to you about that is, they may not be. Some people don't, but you almost certainly have at least one or two clients who have experienced trauma. And you don't necessarily have to change everything you do. And you certainly don't have to change it for all your clients. If it works, it works. But understanding that a trauma survivor might need you to adjust things and understanding how you can adjust them and being willing to make those adjustments not only will benefit your clients, but it will benefit you because you'll be able to reach more people. You'll be able to work more effectively with more people. Um, and, this is stuff I'm putting into place in my own business. And yeah, so um, it's just a little overview of how trauma can affect people and why being trauma informed in your business might be a good idea. I will be back in a couple of weeks with another video. Meanwhile, take care.